Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia just might be one of the most underrated places to live near Chattanooga, Tennessee. In this video, we're going to jump into the why behind that. So if you're thinking about moving to the greater Chattanooga area, then stick around because this video is for you. Before we jump into the meat of the video, let's talk about the 10,000 foot overview of Fort Oglethorpe. So first of all, who is Fort Oglethorpe right for? Well, it's kind of ideal for young families, commuting professionals, that is people that are wanting to drive into either Chattanooga or Dalton, Georgia. It's great for remote workers and retirees. What's nice about living in Fort Oglethorpe, when a lot of people are thinking about moving to the Chattanooga area, they only want to live in Tennessee because there is no state income tax in Tennessee. But Georgia could actually be a good option because the cost of housing there is quite a bit less. There is also lower sales tax. So you might end up saving enough between housing and sales tax to actually make everything balance out. If I had to just briefly characterize the lifestyle in Fort Oglethorpe, I would say that it is a very quiet, laid back feel. You have the Chickamauga battlefield that is very close by to Fort Oglethorpe. This is a wide open, historically rich area with tons of access to nature. So if this sounds good to you, stick around because we're going to get into all of the details. The first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to Fort Oglethorpe is the community's DNA. Fort Oglethorpe was born in 1902. Fort Oglethorpe used to be an Army cavalry outpost. In fact, the original officer's home of the outpost still anchors the downtown area of Fort Oglethorpe. In 1947, this outpost closed, and then in 1949, the town incorporated. Overall, Fort Oglethorpe really does have a sparse suburban feel. The majority of the homes down there are owner-occupied, and there are single-family homes sitting on a bit of acreage. What's really cool about this area is that the Chickamauga battlefield literally borders Fort Oglethorpe. So if you like to get outdoors, if you enjoy history, then the Chickamauga battlefield is a phenomenal place to go. Growing up, I lived down in Ringgold, Georgia, which is very close by, and we would spend many weekend afternoons over at the Chickamauga battlefield, throwing a football, throwing a frisbee around, or climbing on some of the monuments and cannons over there. We had a great time at the Chickamauga battlefield. Okay, let's get into some of the demographic information. So the population in 2023 was estimated to be at about 10,500 people living in Fort Oglethorpe itself. The town is growing at about 2.4% a year. The median age is right around 43 years old. Something I think is pretty cool is about 8% of the population are veterans. So there is a fairly substantial veteran community in Fort Oglethorpe. Let's talk about the cost of living in Fort Oglethorpe. So in terms of the cost of housing, houses cost about 12% less than the US national average in Fort Oglethorpe. The median home sale price for 2025 has been right around $300,000 in Fort Oglethorpe. So you can actually get a fairly decent home for $300,000 down there. A 1 to 2 bedroom apartment is going to cost you between $1,000 and $1,300 a month in this area. What's interesting is that utilities are about 26% below the national average, and healthcare is about 18% below the national average in Fort Oglethorpe. When it comes to taxes, there is a flat Georgia state income tax of 5.39%. It's scheduled to drop to 4.99% by 2028. In Catoosa County, there is a 7% sales tax. Now, groceries and some pharmaceuticals are actually exempt from the state side of this tax, so you're only paying county sales taxes on select items. When it comes to property taxes, what I've found online is that your typical annual property tax bill is going to come out to right around $1,900 a year. Now, obviously, if you own a 10,000 square foot home in Fort Oglethorpe, your taxes are probably going to be quite a bit higher than that, but that is a typical bill. Hey, really quick, I am a licensed real estate agent in both Tennessee and Georgia. So if you're thinking about making a move to the South and you need help finding the perfect place, feel free to reach out to me. You can call or text. My number is 423-358-5656, or you can book a call using the QR code on screen. Okay, back to the video. Okay, let's talk about the housing market specific to home buyers. So the median sales price in 2025 so far has been between $250,000 and $280,000. Right now, we are in a pretty stable market. So there's not really been a gain in prices over the past year. The curve is kind of flattening out a bit. The typical real estate market is going to range from $50,000 lots on the low end all the way up to $775,000 homes that are new construction. There are a few apartment complexes, but for the most part, the housing stock in this area is single family on a little bit more land. When it comes to jobs and employment, a lot of people living in Fort Oglethorpe are going to work in either Chattanooga, Tennessee, or down in Dalton, Georgia. You're kind of right between the two. Some of the big local companies would be Shaw Industries. They manufacture flooring and AstroTurf. And then you also have large retailers like Costco right there. Now, if you're looking at average commute times from kind of central Fort Oglethorpe to downtown Chattanooga, you're looking at about 20 to 22 minutes. Now, this is going to vary significantly depending on what the traffic is like and if they're doing construction on any of the intersections there, which for the past several years, they have been doing construction along the route that you would take from Fort Oglethorpe to downtown Chattanooga. So you want to take that into account. When it comes to education, Fort Oglethorpe is in the Catoosa County school system. So if you want to know specifics on school ratings, I would encourage you to check out greatschools.org and just look at what the school ratings are, look at what people say, how they're reviewing the school system down there that you would be a part of. If you're looking for private education, some nearby options would be Oakwood Christian, you've got Grace Academy, the Bright School, and then just over in Chattanooga, there's Macaulay GPS and Baylor. And then for higher education, there's University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, there is Chat State, there's Covenant College, Southern Adventist University, and then down in Dalton, there is Dalton State as well. Down in Fort Oglethorpe itself, there is a CHI Memorial location, but other nearby hospitals would include Erlanger and Parkridge in the greater Chattanooga area. And then down in Dalton in Calhoun, Georgia, there are more hospitals as well. When it comes to shopping and things to do in Fort Oglethorpe, some of the highlights would be the Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park. This is where the Chickamauga battlefield is that I've referenced a few times in this video. There are miles of trails there, and there are historical tours that you can go on as well. City parks include Gilbert Stephenson's Park, which has pickleball courts, and then there is also the Bark City Dog Park, and there is a place where you can launch canoes on the Chickamauga Creek. Along Battlefield Parkway, there is a lot of retail and shopping options. So all of your major grocery chains and hardware stores are going to be over there. There are also some new outlets there, including Hobby Lobby, Marshalls, Ross, and Petco. In terms of local things to do, there are a ton of events over in Chattanooga itself, but in Fort Oglethorpe, you're going to have small farmers markets. There is a marathon over at the Chickamauga battlefield. There are all kinds of historical reenactments. I think there are fireworks down there too for the 4th of July. So there's all kinds of interesting small town events in Fort Oglethorpe. So who would I recommend considering living in Fort Oglethorpe? I think it's a great place for families. If you're trying to get into a home affordably and you want your money to go a little bit further, Fort Oglethorpe is a great option. For younger professionals and commuters, if you want that suburban lifestyle and you want a little bit more privacy, then this could be a good option for you. I actually have a client that I just got under contract down in that area. That client is a young professional looking to start a family, and Fort Oglethorpe ended up being a great fit for him. For remote workers, this could be a great option. You're close to the Chattanooga airport if you need to hop on a flight, or you're about an hour and 30 minutes from Atlanta, if traffic is good, to get to the Atlanta airport, from which you can get to just about anywhere. And then this is a pretty popular place for retirees, with 28% of the population being 65 plus. So again, if you're looking for that suburban, more laid back lifestyle, then Fort Oglethorpe could be a great option. I think the bottom line for Fort Oglethorpe is save a bit of money living in Georgia and then thrive on the Chattanooga paycheck. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I make all kinds of content on what it's like to live in the greater Chattanooga area, and YouTube thinks that you might like these two here. So go ahead and check those out. I appreciate you sticking with me. I'll see you in the next one.